The Israeli military continues to destroy entire villages in southern Lebanon under a supposed ceasefire with Hezbollah. And over the weekend, the IDF issued evacuation orders to towns north of the Litani River, indicating that Israel is attempting to take over even more Lebanese territory than previously announced. Before we get to more of this depravity, barbarism, savagery, and cruelty, your 2 cents, Cenk.
So we're gonna show you all the damage. So they've destroyed dozens of villages, including Christian villages. They've murdered priests, they've murdered the Red Cross. They destroy entire villages at a time while pretending to do self-defense. So we'll get all those facts. But I think one of the most important parts of this conversation we're gonna get to at the end is, okay, so but what is their real goal? Like, how much of Lebanon are they going to try to take, and when will they stop?
As much as we'll allow them to take at the end of the day. That's the reality of the story.
There are a couple of different options. We'll go over it in a minute.
Now remember, after Trump had announced that the US and Iran agreed to a 2-week ceasefire, immediately after that, the Israelis began carpet bombing Lebanon, throughout Lebanon, not just southern Lebanon, and killed 300 people in one night. Now, since then, there's supposed to be some sort of ceasefire between Lebanon and the Israelis. That includes Hezbollah, but of course, Israel never, ever abides by any ceasefire. They just continue carrying out strikes, destroying entire villages. The Lebanese government reported on Sunday that Israel killed 14 people in one day. That included 2 children, 2 women. There were also 37 others who were injured. One of the strikes actually hit a cafe at a crowded displacement hub. Remember, millions of Lebanese individuals have been displaced from southern Lebanon. They've been evacuated from their homes as the Israelis just destroy their villages entirely. Every single building gets destroyed. And so what did the IDF say? What was their excuse for killing 6 people by striking a cafe near a crowded displacement hub? That they were going after Hezbollah infrastructure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the cafe is Hezbollah infrastructure, right, okay. In addition to these killings, the IDF issued forced evacuation orders to at least 7 villages that are located north of the Litani River. Because remember, Israel was saying that they're gonna just take southern Lebanon up to the Litani River because they need a buffer zone. So why are they evacuating even more territory in Lebanon? It's because the United States is allowing it to happen under President Donald Trump, who was bought off like a high-end escort by Israeli interests, including Miriam Adelson. So according to Drop Site News, Israeli forces also carried out demolitions of houses, homes, residential buildings in Yarun and Bint Jebel. So I want to give you a before and after photo of Yarun, which happens to be a Christian village in southern Lebanon. Nice, so when Israel Katz says that they're going to use the Gaza model in Lebanon, how about we believe them when they say that? How many times are they gonna say things out loud and everyone here in the United States just pretends like, oh, they don't mean it. No, they mean it. They tell us that they're savages. So why don't we just believe that they're savages? They tell us that they're barbaric, inhumane. So why don't we just believe them? Instead, we'll have people in positions of power in this country turn around and point at reporters who actually want to tell people the truth about what's going on and say, oh, she's the problem or he's the problem for telling the truth. No, I'm just relaying the information and the statements made by officials in the Israeli government. This barbarism is what they intend to do, and they do it over and over again. So why don't we believe them? And every single American is forced to pay for it. Every single American has blood on their hands because we are led by a government that thinks it's totally okay to let a pariah state, a cancer on this globe, destroy not 1, not 2, not 3, but several countries in the region so they can engage in their border expansion project. Are you not so proud, Americans, for helping this country build its empire on the backs of Americans while killing, I mean, how many innocent people have been killed? How many children need to be killed? How long are we gonna allow this to happen?
So As Anna pointed out, the defense minister said that they were going to basically turn southern Lebanon into Gaza, and then we can see it with our own eyes. We just showed you them destroying several villages, but there's a lot more. There's tape of them they've destroyed 70 villages. 3 of them are Christian villages. There's a story that we told you before of Priest Rai in a Christian town. Israel bombs a Christian house. The priest goes in to try to help the wounded. Red Cross goes in to help the wounded. Israel waits. Once they're all in the house, boom, they drop a second bomb. That's their double tap.
Savages.
That's what terrorists do. That is an intentional murder of a priest and Red Cross workers, and Israel has done that all over Gaza. They've also started destroying the schools and the hospitals in southern Lebanon because that's what terrorists do. They purposely intend to destroy civilian infrastructure. They're destroying solar panels. They're destroying everything in their path because that is what terrorists do. I know that because mainstream media told me what a terrorist is, intentionally targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure.
Right.
And that is what Israel does on a mass scale, and they do it more than any terrorist group in the world. They do 100 times more damage than Hamas to civilians. And their civilian kill ratio, meaning their intent, is higher than Hamas at 83%, literally higher than any terrorist group in the whole world. Those are empirical facts, right? Look, one of the biggest problems with political media right now isn't just bias. It's how quickly the same story gets spun into 2 completely different realities, depending on who's telling it. That's why I recommend Ground News. It's a website and app that pulls together reporting from across the political spectrum so you can compare how the same story is being covered, who's covering it, and what kind of narrative they're pushing. Now take this story about Pete Hegseth refusing to rule out US troops on the ground in Iran. On Ground News, you can immediately see how differently outlets frame that same development. The Daily Signal downplays the danger by stressing that this isn't Iraq and that the war won't be endless. Meanwhile, NBC focuses on the important part, that Hegseth would not rule out American boots on the ground in Iran. Same story, 2 completely different realities. And Ground News makes that obvious right away. You can compare headlines side by side, see the biased distribution of the coverage, check the factuality ratings of the sources, and even see who owns the outlets behind the reporting. That matters because once you understand how stories are being framed, you start to see how public consent gets manufactured. Ground News also has a blind spot feed that highlights stories that one side of the political spectrum is barely covering. So you're not just trapped inside the version of the world your algorithm wants to feed you. If you're tired of being fed somebody else's narrative, I genuinely recommend Ground News. Go to ground.news/TYT or scan the QR code. Using our link gets you 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. And you could also gift a subscription directly through Ground News. So, we're gonna get to their motives in a second and what they're trying to do. But what's driving us crazy, as you could probably tell, guys, is, and I hope you're not watching mainstream media because it's nothing but a propaganda machine for Israel. But those guys then attack all of us. And they go, no, don't believe your lying eyes. It is our command that you ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears and believe instead only what Israel tells you. And then you say, well, but Israel did tell me they were gonna destroy southern Lebanon. Shut up, anti-Semite, right? Yeah. So no, they're thugs in our, and not only is almost everyone in our mainstream media thugs, let's call them what they actually are, because they've thrown around this term a lot and it definitely applies according to their own definition. Almost every cable news anchor in this country is a terrorist sympathizer. They sympathize with Israel's terrorism. They sympathize with it in Gaza. They sympathize with it in Lebanon. They make excuses for it. They lie to their audience to cover up what's actually happening. Now, in this case, what does Israel want? Well, they were very clear. They want southern Lebanon south of the Litani River. Many of their government officials have said that. Now, they say this absurd piece of fascist propaganda. We needed the Lebensraum, we needed breathing space, a buffer zone. Now I got 53% of Gaza as a buffer zone. I'm gonna get southern Lebanon as a buffer zone. I'm getting western Syria as a southern. No, it's not a buffer zone, just like the Germans and the Serbs and the Turks and everyone else. No, they're grabbing land and using self-defense as a very transparent excuse. So now to the question I asked in the beginning. So when are they going to stop? Right?
Never. They're never gonna stop. It's never enough. It's never enough. I mean, these people are just, I'll give you another example. Let's take a look at the next video. I'll keep my mic up as I explain what you're looking at. Drop site reports that Israeli forces destroyed solar panels that supply electricity and water to the Christian village of Dibel, whose residents, by the way, refused evacuation orders. So they're like, great, then we're gonna take your water and your electricity away by destroying these solar panels. So this is, by the way, the same village where that IDF soldier was pictured destroying a statue of Jesus. So today, Netanyahu came out to say like, oh, we have these wonderful Christians serving in the IDF, and he's doing a press conference. Every single person that he alleges is a Christian IDF soldier has their face blurred. Do you think we're stupid? You think we're stupid? Okay. By the way, also drop site reports that Hezbollah is rejecting direct talks with Israel while excoriating the Lebanese government. Now, why would they do that? Because the Lebanese government isn't doing anything to protect the Lebanese people. Hezbollah Secretary General Sheikh Naim Qassem rejected direct negotiations with Israel, stating any reported agreements between the Lebanese government and Israel are as if they do not exist from Hezbollah's point of view. He also reaffirmed that the group will not give up weapons and defense, and criticized the Lebanese government, accusing it of abandoning Lebanon's rights and giving up land, which is just demonstrably true. Lebanon's president, Joseph Aoun, who is just
Aoun.
He defended his pathetic, defense, or I should say, he defers to Israel. So he defended his deference to Israel in a statement on Monday, saying, "What we are doing is not treason. Rather, treason is committed by those who take their country to war to achieve foreign interests," he said in a reference to Hezbollah's ties to Iran. How many times has Israel invaded southern Lebanon in an effort to annex land? How many times? Why does Hezbollah exist in the first place? How did Hezbollah come about in the 1980s? These people really think we're stupid. Nonetheless, Hezbollah has increased its attacks against the IDF in retaliation of these ceasefire violations. And I want to go to this next video to give you a sense of their thinking, because the war is definitely going to heat up in Lebanon.
So Hezbollah is saying it's going to respond, and it has been responding. It increased the tempo of its operations in the past 48, 76 hours, and it is hurting Israeli troops in southern Lebanon in that occupation zone. They targeted a group of soldiers in the village of Taibi. The Israeli army acknowledging that one was killed and 6 others injured, 4 of them seriously. And when the Israeli army helicopter came to evacuate the dead and wounded, Hezbollah launched another armed drone. But it's not just targeting Israeli troops in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah has been targeting areas in northern Israel. And really this puts Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a difficult position, because he said that he's creating this occupation zone to keep the areas of northern Israel safe. So Hezbollah appears to be intact. It continues to launch drones and rockets across the border, and it continues to target Israeli troops. And this is one of the reasons why we saw that escalation yesterday across southern Lebanon, with Israel targeting areas beyond this so-called yellow line that they have drawn in the south of the country, killing 14 people in one day alone.
The casualty toll due to Israeli attacks on Lebanon from March 2nd to April 26th. Let me just read that part again. March 2nd to April 26th has risen to 2,521 killed and 7,804 injured, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry. The Lebanese Health Ministry, okay? The Lebanese government that's super deferential to Israel. That's the ministry that I'm talking about. So I don't want to hear any BS about how it's the Hezbollah numbers. No, it's the Lebanese government that's on its knees pleasuring Israel as Israel steals land and slaughters its people. So embarrassing. I would be so furious if that was my government, and my government is embarrassing enough as it is. At least 38 people have been killed in Israeli attacks since the announcement of this so-called ceasefire on April 16th. There never was a ceasefire. Let's be very clear about that.
All right, so I've got a lot to clarify. First of all, the US press tells you how Hezbollah and Hamas are the most disgusting terrorists of all time. What they never tell you is why they exist. If they ever talk about it, they say, oh, that's because they hate Jews for no reason at all. They were just like, they're just hate. No, it's because Israel's occupying the West Bank and Gaza Strip, and let alone Golan Heights, let alone now southern Lebanon, right? So those are people who are fighting back. You could say they're fighting back in wrong ways and by targeting some civilians, not as much as Israel, but targeting some civilians, that they're doing it the wrong way. But are they resisting an occupation? Of course they are. I mean, it's outrageous to say anything otherwise, which then leads to the question of, do the Lebanese have a right to defend themselves? Does Hezbollah have a right to defend themselves, or do they have to sit and go, okay, Israel, go ahead, murder me, and take my land, and kill my kids, and take my home, because I wouldn't want to be an anti-Semite. You have the right to murder all of us and take all of our land. No, so because when our press talks about Israel, they're like, right to defend themselves, and how we have to give them money to genocide kids, and we have to give them money for endless wars because they have a right to defend themselves. When you ask, well, do the Lebanese have a right to, or Hezbollah, or do Hamas, or the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves? They say, how dare you? You better not, you better lie down and die for Israel. Well, no, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Either there's a universal right to defend yourself, or there isn't. And so, and then I get to the last part of that question. So wait, do Lebanese Christians have a right to defend themselves?
No, when it comes to Israelis, no one has the right to defend themselves. When it comes to Israelis, I mean, God tier. They're the most important people on the planet. They can slaughter all of us. They've taken over this country. Our resources go to them with no questions asked. When it comes to healthcare for the American people, when it comes to food assistance for the American people, there's a big debate. When it comes to Jake Tapper talking about the possibility of Medicare for all, how are you gonna pay for that? Have you heard Jake Tapper once ask a single question about how much it costs to be a special ally to Israel?
Whenever it's the American people, it's not just Jake Tapper, it's almost every cable news anchor, including, I was just talking to Kari Smith, who's community director for us now. We ran for Congress in Nebraska, almost won. She was just telling me about her first appearance on MSNBC. She thought it was gonna be friendly territory. Instead, Katie Tur takes her head off. How are you gonna pay for Medicare for all? You're gonna give this to Americans? How dare you? Katie Tur, Jake Tapper, literally everyone on cable news, including MSNBC. No one's asked, how are you gonna pay for that when it comes to this war? Because beloved Israel, everybody bowed their heads. Okay, so let's finish up now. Because at this point, they're saying, now they've been saying since almost every cable news anchor is deeply racist, they've been telling you your whole life, oh, it's okay to murder Muslims. They have no right to defend themselves. Israel can take all their land and humiliate them and oppress them. They have every right to do that. They own the land from 3,000 years ago. Okay, but wait, the Palestinians have definitely been there for thousands of years. Can they defend themselves? They're like, no, they're dirty Muslims and they're savages and terrorists and they deserve to be murdered. That we're all used to. But now, they won't even talk about the Christians because they know if they talk about the Christians, it might affect Israel's ability to rob this country blind, since 70% of this country is Christian. So they have instituted a total blockade on news about Lebanon, okay? Did anyone on cable news talk about how Israel has illegally invaded Lebanon and is slaughtering whole Christian villages at a time? Or at least destroying them and killing people that were stubborn and stayed, like the priest that we mentioned earlier? No, shh. Because they're gonna get to the super awkward part of, do Christians have a right to defend themselves? And our press and our government thinks, no, they do not. They're terrorists if they defend themselves. Now look at the irony of how history has come full circle. There are now Armenian militias fighting against the Israelis in southern Lebanon. And instead of defending the Armenians and the Muslims from this genocide that Israel is doing in southern Lebanon, our government and our media is saying the Armenians had it coming. When the Turks did it, how outrageous, the Muslim savages. When Israel does it, no, it's okay. Slaughter the Armenians. Who cares?
I mean, look, Israelis can literally slaughter anyone, and our government will say, yes, sir, keep going. We'll give you more money to do it. Anyway.
Okay, yeah. I have one last thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so guys, so then come back to the question of when in the world are they ever going to be satisfied, at least with this project in Lebanon, right? There are strategic retreats from time to time. They decided that they were gonna take 53% of Gaza instead of all of Gaza, at least for now, right? So can we get to that place? So we know the original objective was everything south of the Litani River, but now there's two conflicting things. One is the new yellow line, which would be less than south of the Litani River, but it stretches all the way into Lebanese waters and conveniently includes a gas field. So are they going to just settle for stealing some border areas of Lebanon, by the way, which would be larger than what Russia has taken from Ukraine? Or are they going to stick to their original mission to the Litani River? Or are they so mental that they're going to try to get land north of the Litani River?
You know what the answer is.
So, but guys, like this is unsustainable. America can't keep staying there, and Israel can't do any of this without our backing. So they're gonna drag us deeper into these wars and drown us in the blood, honestly, that they're creating in the Middle East.
They'll love it. I mean, isn't that what they specialize in? Slaughtering people?
And so an entire time, our government and every liar in national media is like, no, they are your special ally. You owe them. You have to send them more money and more troops to die. And if you're a Christian, you have no right to defend yourself. The Muslims are obviously have no rights at all. And Israel is the only one that has rights, and they have rights to all of your land and all of your money. And if you dare object, we will try to ruin your life. So that's what the news in this country has been denigrated to. That's what they're the pathetic state that they are in. They do 0% news, 100% propaganda for a different government.
Yep.
So who does all the cable news anchors, all the New York Times reporters, all the Washington Post reporters and editors and publishers, who do they serve? Because they most certainly do not serve America. Why are they lying to Americans and Muslims and Christians? And by the way, 63% of Jewish Americans who are opposed to the Netanyahu government. But they tell them, no, you're all anti-Semites, including a majority of Jews in America.
Who owns the media?
Because it's not about Jewish people, it's not about religion. It's about these guys who are loyal to a different government. And yes, they are definitely loyal to Israel, and they are betraying America. That is indisputable. I want to see one of them talk about the genocide in Gaza. I want to see one of them talk about the brutal invasion of Lebanon. No, all of them, 100% liars pretending Israel's the victim. There is no end to how monstrous that lie is. Terrorist sympathizers, all of them. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.